The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has said that about 1 million customers have been enrolled on the eNaira platform since it came on stream a year ago. Emefiele, who spoke in Lagos on Tuesday at the eNaira first year anniversary, said all the 33 banks in the country have been fully integrated and are live on the platform. Tokunbo Oyetunji has the details.
It's been 1 year since the activation of Nigeria's digital currency, the eNaira, by President Muhammadu Buhari. The eNaira is designed not just to serve as a medium of exchange, but also a store of value and claims that offers better payment prospect when compared to cash transaction. It is one of the moves by the Central Bank of Nigeria towards transforming Nigeria to a digital economy, and most importantly, build Nigeria's future monetary system in response to emerging trends in the global digital space. Other objectives of the initiative also include to enhance financial inclusion, support poverty reduction, enable direct welfare disbursement to citizens, support a resilient payments ecosystem, improve availability and usability of central bank money, facilitate diaspora remittances, reduce the cost of processing cash, and improve efficiency of cross-border payment, among others.
Undoubtedly, Nigeria remains the first country in Africa to introduce its digital currency, remains the second in the world, even when other central banks, larger central banks in the world are very skeptical about introducing their digital currency because of
1 year after, the CBN governor is here with other parties critical to the implementation of the initiative to take stock, and Mr. Emefiele is excited to roll out some of the successes that have been recorded.
There has been overwhelming interest and encouraging response from Nigerians and other parties across the world, as indicated by the following milestones. 1. All our 33 banks are fully integrated and live on the platform. 2. 3 billion naira worth has been successfully minted by the CBN. 3. 2.1 billion naira has been issued to financial institutions. 4. About 1 million customers have so far been onboarded.
But the CBN boss and his team know that they aren't there yet.
The team continues to work fastidiously to bring enhanced features and improved user experience to the eNaira.
There is an urgent need to educate Nigerians on the advantages of the CBDC over the more widely acclaimed cryptocurrencies, as well as encouraging us to get on the train of a homegrown financial solution.
Panel sessions with discussants from different sectors relevant to the successful implementation of the eNaira are held to analyze the status of the campaign, make useful suggestions, and project.
In the meantime, Mr. Emefiele last Wednesday disclosed plans by the Central Bank of Nigeria to release redesigned 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes by December 15, 2022. According to Mr. Emefiele, this plan was targeted at controlling currency in circulation, as well as curbing counterfeit currency and ransom payment to kidnappers and terrorists. In his words, and I quote, "As at the end of September 2022, available data at the CBN indicate that 2.73 trillion out of the 3.23 trillion currency in circulation was outside the vaults of commercial banks across the country and supposedly held by members of the public. Evidently, currency in circulation has more than doubled since 2015, rising from 1.46 trillion in December 2015 to 3.23 trillion as at September 2022. I must say this is a very worrisome trend that cannot continue to be allowed," he said. Here is
Furthermore, we believe that the redesign of the currency will help deepen our drive to entrench cashless economy as it will be complemented by increased minting of our eNaira. This will further rein in the currency outside the banking system into the banking system, thereby making monetary policy more efficacious. Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidence of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up. Ladies and gentlemen, on the basis of these trends, problems, and facts set out above, and in line with the provisions of Sections 2B, Section 18A, and Section 19, Subsection A and B of the CBN Act 2007, the management of the CBN has sought and obtained the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari to redesign, produce, release, and circulate new series of banknotes at 200 Naira, 500 Naira, and 1,000 Naira levels. In line with this approval, we have finalized arrangements for the new currency to begin circulation from December 15th, 2022, after its launch by President Muhammadu Buhari. The new and existing currencies shall remain legal tender and circulate together until January 31, 2023, when the existing currencies shall cease to be legal tender. Accordingly, all deposit money banks currently holding the existing denominations of the currency may begin returning these banknotes back to the CBN effective immediately.
Barely 48 hours after the CBN governor went public with those plans to redesign the Naira, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning on Friday disagreed with him, warning that if implemented, the currency redesigning will portend great consequences for the nation and its economy. The minister commented on the policy in response to a question raised by Senator Opeyemi Bamidele during the 2023 budget defense session. Warned the central bank of dire consequences that may arise from the exercise. She says she's not aware of the policy, but only heard of it from the media. In the wake of that, however, the CBN governor has responded, saying that the central bank does not need the approval of the Ministry of Finance before embarking on currency redesigning. Joining us now to try to unpack issues arising from this move by the Central Bank of Nigeria is economist and financial affairs analyst, Dr. Boniface Chizea, CEO of BIC Consultancy Services and one-time contributor to the CBN's Quality Assurance FSS 2020 project. Dr. Chizea, thank you very much for joining us on this Live, the Sunday Talk Show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, let's start with the controversy.
Yeah.
The CBN governor had announced this policy. The Minister of Finance says, she was not aware of it and that there will be dire consequences. And now the CBN spokesperson, Osita Nwasiobi, has come forward to say, no, they don't have any reason to go through the Ministry of Finance. That this is just monetary policy management, currency management, which is the duty of the central bank under the enabling laws. Why do we have this controversy? Because many Nigerians think this is very untidy. It looks like the government is working against itself.
Well, Ruben, I think it's untidy, for this to have happened. I just left a program where I tried to defend the minister. I thought that it's something she did impromptu. That the question was asked why she was there on the defense of her budget. And then she probably said they were not aware. But I didn't know that she went as far as to pass judgment on what's happening. I think that's passing judgment. I think that's where I think that she has missed. She missed the boat. She's not in a place to pass judgment. Even if she thinks negatively about it, she should have kept that to herself. She did that, and then she did so in the public. And I think that doesn't send a good signal, to the people out there. There's trust deficit, government and the people. People don't cut government any slack. That's a loss in confidence. And for this to happen, amongst people, under the same government, I thought that was not tidy. It's uncalled for.
Well, but for the Minister of Finance to say she's not aware, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation and the members of the board of the CBN.
Yes.
Is it possible that this decision was taken without the board of the CBN itself being kept in the dark?
Well, I think that central bank, if we have to call it spirit by its name, central bank has the authority, instrument autonomy, to implement this. I don't know if changing in currency is something that should be that require board approval, but I think it's something that's it's quite substantial, that maybe the board should be consulted. But I think you have a point in the sense that the permanent secretary, Minister of Finance, sitting on the board of central bank, was purposeful. It was put there to make sure that this sort of controversy, this sort of lack of connection and understanding, that it's not there. So what is happening here is not tidy. I thought that if she stopped at saying that she wasn't aware when she was asked, but I thought that for her to go ahead to say that it has dire consequences for the economy, and that's a bit. She went over the mark.
Well, another question that people are asking is that, look, why now? At a time when we've just been downgraded, the Nigerian economy has been downgraded by Moody's. We have a revenue problem. We have a huge debt overhang. People are now saying the change of the color of the currency. How is it a big deal this time around? What exactly is the value proposition?
Well, I think that changing the currency is also part of the solution to the problem. You can't have a system. I was alarmed. You can't have a system where 85% of the currency in circulation is outside the banking system. That doesn't make for an effective system. It means that federal government policy will only reach 15%. And so I think that we don't have to solve these problems in silos. So we have a problem and economy, we have issues in the economy, and this is part of the solution of the problem. And so if you're going to begin to redress this, that's exactly what the central bank has tried to do. And then if you look at what is happening, there's some sense. I think for the timing, if you look at the election 2023, and you are bringing this on now, maybe it's an attempt even to sanitize the system. One of the issues, problems we have, is a question of spending money to influence electioneering. So we need to begin to play the game as it should be played. We need to remove vote buying and so on and so forth. I would expect that this will contribute to it. I would expect that those who are sitting on massive currencies outside there and waiting to maybe use it for elections, that they are going to be affected. Because I think what's going to happen is that those who don't have legitimate reasons to be in position of Naira, are going to have some problems. I think that with this exercise, those who have their monies, they do businesses in cash, that they shouldn't be penalized in any way. But I think that for those who have holds up, and like the government just say, those who do businesses that are not decent, illegal business, and they, kidnapping and so on, ransom, and they've accumulated Naira, large sums of Naira in their possession, they're going to take the hit. I think that for us, I think it's good news. And also, I think for the elections, I think that's it's also, I think it's timely, if you ask me.
Well, but the CBN spokesperson says, well, no group is being targeted. But there has also been an ethnic response to this. There are certain voices from the north, including a group called the Northern Forum, that says this is reckless, that Godwin Emefiele should be sacked. He has no right to say he wants to change the currency. On the other side, the CBN is saying, well, the CBN is acting under Section 2 of the CBN Act and under Section 9 of the CBN Act. And what it is doing is perfectly legal. The global best practice is that every 5 or 8 years, you can change your currency, right? And that the last time Nigeria changed currency was 20 years ago. And in any case, it's not targeted at any group. Is there something that those people who are saying that the CBN governor should be sacked for performing what will look like his statutory function, is there something they know that we do not know?
Well, if Emefiele was going to be sacked, he was sacked several times over. You know that yourself. So I think that even Emefiele himself will taking that in his stride. For him, I'm sure by now his skin will be so thick about this. So they sacked him several times, and nobody's going to sack him until his time comes. He has his tenure there has been renewed to accept as a major crisis. I believe he's going to serve out his tenure. And so, but I don't think it's for us to worry. Once you had sort of policy, we know Nigerians, would expect that that will come back, there'll be negative comments and so on and so forth. That's why I said, in fact, we have trust deficit. That this social contract, there are issues with it, and there's nothing that government does that is seen to be good. There have been insinuations, that sort of things have been said, so it's a roadmap to put Buhari on the, as a portrait on the currency and so on and so forth. And so you have so many things, and there are some economics, to say that it will not affect inflation, it will not impact on the rate of exchange and so on and so forth, and I think differently.
Well, no, I'd like to know what you think differently, because within 48 hours after that plan was announced, the Naira dropped from 778 to the dollar to 780. Yeah. As of this morning, some of the papers are reporting that the Naira is now 800 to the dollar. Yeah. And some persons are saying we're likely to witness further depreciation of the Naira. Now, if that were to occur on a long-term basis, would that not make it look like the policy was wrong? Well,
I would expect that will happen between now and December. If we keep the policy and then we will push out. You see, what is happening is no brainer. It's not something that is obvious. What's happening is that this has come, and then the people are beginning to act fast. And what is happening are those who have accumulated this Naira and wanting to use it, and knowing that they're not going to be able to get it back into the system, already they've taken a move. So what's happening is that the demand now for dollar is increased. People are trying to now convert the Naira holdings to dollar. I mean, they've been doing that all along, but I think that the intensity, is increased, it's been heightened, it's been elevated with this announcement. And so we'd expect that, but I expect that by the time we get to December, I expect that it will start dropping. The CBN doesn't work with the primary market. But I think there's some concern in the sense that most economic agents in this environment, they think, use that, they think within that framework. So maybe the CBN will begin to look into this and see if there's any way they could do something. But I think also that we should begin to release the security agents and so on and so forth, to go and monitor what is happening. Before shouting out loud, dollar is not legal tender currency in our economy. And so I think it's about time we begin to look into that and find out those who are holding on to large piles of dollars and so on in the country and so on. So they should be called out and taken to task to explain really what is happening. So the CBN shouldn't sit back. I listened to Power, the chairman of EFCC, and he said we're going to monitor. And we expect that in this exercise, there must be intelligence gathering. So we'd expect that we'll be looking at these things, and then we have issues of revenue. So people are not paying their taxes. And some of these people who sit on this large house of money, if you come to change so much money, they don't have to do it directly, they have to do it intelligently. They watch, they monitor you, and they put a trail on you. And they come after you subsequently, they say, my brother, how much tax did you pay last year? So there are lots of things, lots of possibilities I see, coming out of this exercise.
Well, by the EFCC, one of the things the EFCC is saying, according to the chairman of the EFCC, is that EFCC operatives will be sent to banking halls to monitor physically those who will start bringing all the hidden funds in Ghana must go and all of that. Should the EFCC do that?
No, they shouldn't.
Because that will amount to melodrama.
No, practically they can't do it. Of course, it's, like you said, it's melodrama. Practically they can't do that. What's their staff strength? How many branches? Even take Abuja. I'm not sure that staff strength to cover Lagos and Abuja. They don't know how to do that. People are coming to deposit money. Eventually, you collect the records. You have records with the banks. What are the returns and so on and so forth today. You collect the records. And those are return piles of money. You look at it and you have a trail on them. So you find a way to monitor what they've done. And I expect that those who really are sitting on these monies, ransom monies and so on and so forth, they won't have the courage to bring those monies to want to exchange. And so that's what they are seeing. So there is a race, to change these monies into dollars. And to the extent that that's happening, we expect that the rate of exchange will drop.
But what do you think of the window, the time that has been provided for persons to go to the banks and change their 200 Naira notes, 500 Naira notes, 1,000 Naira notes? The banks are likely to be under massive pressure. Do these banks have the capacity to accommodate that pressure?
Let me tell you what I think, if you ask me, what I think should happen is that once we can take care of the elections, those who try and demonetize our elections, I think once we can do that, we should go easy. I believe that post-election, I believe that nobody, it's a massive exercise. This country is a vast territory. And then people, when you talk about the urban centers, the country is vast. And there are people who live in outlying areas that they're not very close to banks and so on and so forth. And so how are they going to, it will be unfair for somebody who has earned his Naira legitimately not to be able to exchange it. People have said, for instance, we should even begin to de-emphasize having bank accounts. So have a provision where up to a certain amount of money you can come in, on the counter and have it change for you. So I think that's, those are things that we have to look at. But I think that beyond end of January, as happened before, I have expectations that it will be extended. But I think that Nigerians also will have a penchant whereby you give a deadline and then we don't act. We wait until it's look at the this electioneering voters card and so on and so forth. They give you a date and so on, and people don't act until it's the date is up, and they start rushing. And you have panic and confusion everywhere. So we hope that will not happen on this call. Now, what the Central Bank has said is that those who already had these monies should begin to move it out now. You have your window. You don't have to wait until the money, the new currency is out before you, but it's already in the system, and you don't have issues.
Okay, let me ask you about this concern about foreign exchange and the value of the Naira. How do you think the CBN should handle this slide? From 778, we are now at 800 to the dollar. Now you say, maybe by December, maybe the Naira will probably be 1,000 Naira to the dollar. Yeah. What should the CBN do to mitigate that?
Well, we have a dilemma here in the sense that the Central Bank has said that they don't recognize the foreign market. I'm sure you've heard that. Governor says so. Yes. And he says so. And he says that, in fact, that's when he had issues with Aboki FX. And he says, the market lacks depth. And that, in fact, that market was being manipulated. And so he says all that. Well, I don't have my facts, so
but you can't get dollar from the bank.
Yeah, so that's
how many people have access to the official exchange?
Yeah, so that's the problem. So if you say what is the Central Bank going to do, if Central Bank doesn't believe in that market and doesn't think that the market, we should in fact discuss the market, they might not do anything. But I think that we have a larger economy, and I think that Central Bank should find a way. If you ask me, I don't know if you have the currency. If you have dollars, we should try and, in a subtle way, inject more dollars at this point in time. You get the Bureau de Change and so on and so forth to have more dollars to see if we can mitigate the fall, check it so that it's not as rapid as it's coming.
So you are recommending injecting dollars?
Yes, inject some dollars, and then to manage it for a short time. I would expect that once it's past December, once it's past elections, things will calm down. But Ruben, fundamentally, we must produce in this economy. You don't make omelets without breaking eggs. That's a challenge. So if we're not producing, we're not going to have any breather.
Well, some people have expressed concern about the cost of printing these new notes. And the cost, is it worth it?
Well, that's
in a country where we've been using ways and means to just carry on.
Yes, so we use ways and means to print it. Ruben,
so you further increase ways and means that is already over 6 trillion naira.
Yes, there. You know, because you see what's happening is that I expect the mint is going to print it. And so I don't know how much of what they use in their operations would come from outside. And but you know, but that's a cost that I would expect that central bank has budgeted for. You know, we have this currency exchange, you know, new note policy, where you withdraw all currency and then you replace with new notes. So that's an ongoing expenditure in that regard. But CBN will just have to up the thing a bit. And this is why, for instance, Ruben, we don't want this review of the CBN Act. National Assembly should not go there. Because how do you estimate the expenditure of the central bank? How are you going to expect, I'm hope people are listening, how are they going to, the central bank is going to spend this money, he prints the money, he spends the money, what do you want to begin to get into the budget and so on and so forth? You have a monitoring facility, monitoring window, you are supposed to monitor. Instead of you to monitor, you start looking for, you know, how you will engage yourself and so on and so forth. Go and monitor. You can monitor and say what they are doing and so on. And call the central bank governor to come and make presentations to you.
Okay, final question. In the introduction, we started with the eNaira. Yeah. The success, the celebration by the CBN. What do you think?
I think that's the
eNaira, this you know, digitalization, financial inclusion project. We've been on it since 2017.
Yeah.
But now the CBN governor giving a report card says, oh, we've been able to do something important.
Well, you know, Ruben, I'm not able independently to we'll just take what the governor has said. You know, we'll take it, we'll ride on it. I think that the governor has said so, then it's cause for celebration. You know, one of the things is that we are the second central bank in the world to have introduced digital currency. Yes. And so if we are making a success of it, the others are going to see us and see that something good. I think Bahamas, somewhere in Bahamas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Bahamas. And so they're going to see it and say, at least something, for a change, something good is coming out of Nigeria. But what is most important for us is we want to feel it. We want to see the effect. And so I have not seen the effect. Maybe because I'm not dealing in that space. But we want to see it impact. Once it begins to impact on our lives and so on and so forth, and helps us, you know, so one of the things we are trying to do, cashless transactions and so on and so forth, and we begin to see it, if it impacts on at our day-to-day lives, and then we'll give Solomon kudos. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Boniface Chizea, for joining us today on This Live.